Hey guys, welcome to question FM 239 of the Further Maths Fortify Study Guide. This question reads, mice in an experiment around enjoyable activities are recorded each hour. The mice are able to choose between 4 activities, either playing with balls, napping, using the slides, and running on the big wheels. The transition matrix T shows the way in which the mice are expected to change their choice of activity from hour to hour, and we're given this transition matrix here. Let Sn be the state matrix for the number of mice expected to choose each activity at the beginning of each hour n. For the given matrix S1, a matrix rule that can be used to predict the number of mice at each activity each hour after beginning is Sn plus 1 equals T times Sn. Cool. So question A then asks us, how many mice will be on the same activity they started on 1 hour after beginning? So this question is really testing how well you understand your transition matrices, as in what these numbers all mean. So in order to answer this question, we're going to be looking at specifically these elements on the diagonal here, because they show us that 0.5 or 50% of the mice that were playing with balls will also be playing with balls the next hour. So this hour to next hour, that's our transition that goes from playing with balls to playing with balls. Down here, we've got 40% of the mice that were napping will still be napping. 60% of the mice on the slides will still be on the slides, and 40% of the mice on the big wheel will still be on the big wheel. So in order to make this calculation, we also need to look at how many mice will be on the same activity they start on 1 hour after beginning. So this first S1 is showing us that 100 mice are on each activity at the start of hour number 1, so the beginning of this experiment. So what we're going to be looking for is how many are still on there at the end of the next hour. So this calculation would look something like this. So we're going to use the 0.5 from playing with balls to playing with balls. So 0.5 times 100 plus 0.4 times 100 plus 0.6 times 100. Run out of room here, but I'll continue it just down here, plus 0.4 times 100. Whacking this into a calculator, you should get an answer of 190 mice. Cool. So that's question A. Question B then says, complete S2, the state matrix for the beginning of hour 2 below, and then you guys are given a framework to put in your own numbers for each of the elements in S2. Now, according to this rule down here, the way that we're going to find S2 is going to be by timesing the transition matrix by our initial state matrix. So if you were to grab your calculator, put in this 4x4 matrix and then multiply it with this 4x1 matrix, you should get an answer that looks like this. So we should have 100 mice playing with balls, 100 mice napping, 110 mice now on the slides, and 90 mice now on the big wheel. And that will be your answer to part B. Part C goes on to ask, of the mice expected to be napping at the beginning of hour 3, what percentage were on the slides at the beginning of hour 2? So I might bring back the state matrix that we had before, so our S2, which showed us the state of the mice at the beginning of the second hour. And we were also going to need to calculate the state matrix at the beginning of the third hour. So in order to do that, we're going to have to take our transition matrix and times that by S2, which will give S3, and that should be equal to this. All right, now just to give a little bit of information here so we can remember which ones are which. So once again, this question is really testing your knowledge of transition matrices and what's actually happening in between in the workings. So let's have a look here. So we're talking about of the mice expecting to be napping at the beginning of hour 3. So we've got 100 mice napping at the beginning of hour 3, which means that our fraction, because it's of that amount, it's going to be of 100. What percentage were on the slides at the beginning of hour 2? Now, the mice that were on the slides, the number of mice on the slides at the beginning of hour 2 was 110. However, what we're looking for here is the number that went from the slides to napping. So we're going to be in our transition matrix looking at this element here, this 0.2, because this is showing us the transition between the number of mice that were on the slides this hour going to napping the next hour. So that's 0.2 there. We're going to multiply our 110 that were on the slides by 0.2 because 20% of them are going to go from the slides to having a nap. That's out of the 100 that will be there napping at the beginning of hour 3. And of course, in order to convert this into a percentage instead of a decimal, we're going to times the whole fraction by 100, giving us an answer of 22%. All right, guys, that's all those questions. If you have any questions for us, please leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.